Hey there, brave souls. Welcome to another chilling episode. Tonight, we're diving into a story that's sure to send shivers down your spine. So, dim the lights, get comfortable, and prepare yourself for the darkness ahead. The desert night was quiet, except for the faint rustling of sand against ancient stone. Three figures moved in the shadows, their faces covered by scarves to shield them from the cold desert wind. They were grave robbers, Amir, Tariq, and Zaid, drawn to the recently discovered tomb of Pharaoh Ankhetan. Whispers of treasure and gold had reached their ears, and they couldn't resist the allure of the wealth that lay buried beneath the sands. "This is it," Amir whispered, his eyes wide with greed as they stood before the sealed entrance of the tomb. The stone door was massive, covered in hieroglyphs that warned of a curse placed upon any who disturbed the pharaoh's final resting place. Tariq, the youngest of the group, hesitated. "Maybe we should turn back." The villagers spoke of a curse. They said the pharaoh's spirit would hunt down anyone who dares to steal from him. Amir scoffed, his voice full of contempt. "Curses are just stories to scare away fools. We're here for the treasure, nothing else. Now, help me open this door." With great effort, the three men pushed against the stone slab, their muscles straining as it slowly creaked open. A rush of stale air greeted them, carrying with it the scent of decay and something older, something that had been locked away for centuries. Inside, the tomb was dark, the only light coming from their flickering torches. The walls were covered in more hieroglyphs, but none of the men could read them. All they saw were the glittering treasures scattered throughout the chamber: gold coins, jewels, and statues of gods and pharaohs, all waiting to be taken. Zaid, the tallest of the group, grinned as he reached for a golden necklace encrusted with gems. "We're rich." But as his fingers closed around the necklace, a sudden chill filled the air, and the torches flickered ominously. The shadows in the chamber seemed to stretch and twist, forming shapes that shouldn't have been there. "Did you feel that?" Tariq asked, his voice shaking. His eyes darted around the chamber, trying to make sense of the darkness that seemed to move on its own. "Stop being paranoid," Amir snapped, though he, too, felt a cold knot of fear tightening in his chest. He forced himself to focus on the treasure. "Grab what you can. We'll be out of here before sunrise." The men hurriedly filled their bags with as much gold as they could carry, but as they did, the temperature in the tomb dropped further. A low, guttural sound echoed through the chamber, like the moaning of a distant wind or a voice, deep and ancient. Zaid froze, the hair on the back of his neck standing on end. "Did you hear that?" Amir shook his head, refusing to let fear take hold. "Just the wind. Keep moving." But the sound grew louder, more distinct, as if something was moving toward them from the depths of the tomb. The shadows continued to writhe and shift, and now there was no mistaking it. Something was in the tomb with them. A cold breath brushed against Amir's neck, and he spun around, his heart pounding. There was nothing there, just the darkness, stretching endlessly into the unknown. But as he turned back to the treasure, he saw it, a figure, draped in tattered linen, standing at the far end of the chamber. Its eyes glowed with an eerie, unnatural light. "The Pharaoh," Tariq whispered, his voice barely audible as the figure stepped closer, its movements slow and deliberate. The torches flickered again, and in their dim light, the men could see the pharaoh's face, gaunt and hollow, his once regal features twisted with anger and pain. The air grew thick with the stench of decay, and the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble. "Run!" Amir shouted, but it was too late. As the pharaoh raised his hand, a wave of darkness washed over them, and the walls of the tomb closed in. The treasure scattered across the floor began to melt away, revealing bones and decayed remains. The hieroglyphs on the walls began to glow, telling the story of Ankheten's curse, how he had been betrayed by his closest advisors and buried alive in his tomb, doomed to an eternity of suffering. Zaid screamed as the Pharaoh's gaze locked onto him, his body frozen in place as visions filled his mind. Visions of the Pharaoh's death, the pain and betrayal he had endured. The images were so vivid, so real, that Zaid felt the agony as if it were his own. He dropped to his knees, his mind shattered by the visions, and he never rose again. Tariq, too, was overcome by the Pharaoh's wrath. The shadows around him seemed to come alive, wrapping around his limbs and pulling him into the darkness. He struggled, but it was no use. The more he fought, the tighter the shadows became, until they crushed the life out of him. Amir, the last of the group, stumbled backward, his mind racing. He had to escape, had to get out of the tomb before the curse claimed him too. But the entrance, which had once been so close, now seemed impossibly far away. The Pharaoh's voice echoed in his mind, a chorus of whispers that spoke of vengeance and retribution. Amir clutched his head, trying to block out the sound, but it only grew louder, filling every corner of his consciousness. "Please," Amir begged, falling to his knees. "I didn't know. I didn't mean to disturb you." But the Pharaoh showed no mercy. He had waited centuries for this moment, and he would not be denied his vengeance. With a final, deafening roar, the tomb collapsed, burying Amir beneath tons of stone and sand. The desert was silent once more, the tomb sealed away for eternity. The treasure remained hidden, untouched by time, a warning to all who would dare to disturb the resting place of the ancient dead. And in the shadows of the tomb, the Pharaoh waited, his wrath eternal, ready to punish any who would dare to break the seal again.